Yeah. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the party. So my name's Antony. Please call me Antony. About me here in Taiwan, I give lectures on academic writing, publishing, and presenting around Taiwan. Obviously, mostly in Taipei. That's where I live. So I've presented at all these schools, and here you are right here. I've presented for National University of Tainan online last year, so I'm actually happy to be here in person. So, high impact. High impact means to be relevant and useful. High impact researchers publish material that can help people or solve major problems in an industry. All research is not high impact. Some research is high impact. It's kind of a scale. So the highest impact is you're helping a lot of people and you're solving major problems. Cancer research is often high impact because cancer is a problem that affects many people. Okay. High impact journals publish research that is novel, citable, and easy and enjoyable to read. High impact journals. High impact journals are your most popular journals. They're the hardest journals to publish in, like Science, Nature. So high impact means relevant, novel, citable, and enjoyable. It's really difficult to do enjoyable to read. It's really difficult to do all four of these, but we can talk about strategies how to get there. Lastly, high impact researchers are storytellers. Sometimes, I would say, because I come from psychology, I have a psychology degree, and being a storyteller in psychology research is easy because you're talking about humans and human behavior, and it's easy to tell stories. But if you are an engineer, storytelling is really difficult, right? Math is hard to tell a story with because there's not a lot of personality in it. There's not a lot of human aspects, I guess is the right thing to say. Hey guys, I give live presentations to university students around Asia on this topic and on similar academic writing and publishing topics. To invite me to your school, you can reach out to me via email. Thanks, and I'll talk to you soon. Tip is to become familiar with high impact factor journals. This is just a list from Google from the top 200 highest impact factor journals in 2020. They got their titles of being on this list because the information they publish is cited thousands of times, hundreds of times in other papers. So they publish papers and then other researchers use those papers in their science. And we obviously see, right, Nature reviews, New England Journal of Medicine, The Lancet. The Lancet has many different subcategories. So it's good to get to know these. It's good to get to know these. Why? Why is it important to know the highest impact factor journals? Anybody? Why is a list like this important for you? Yeah, so they're publishing novel research, which means new and interesting, right? Maybe not interesting, but new. So they are posting the stuff that is the most advanced often. Do you think their English is perfect when they publish something? Yeah, these are the highest impact factor journals. So they're publishing perfect English journals. Not just perfect grammar, but perfect, easy to understand, enjoyable to read, but also it uses the correct jargon. So a great example is there's 10 ways to say, like, I want to go to the store with my mom on Saturday. On Saturday, I will want to go to the store with my mom. My mom and I will want to go to the store together on Saturday. They're all the same meaning, but there's a natural way to say it. It's difficult to know what feels natural in English. So these publish natural feeling English. So it's really good to learn from. It's really good to learn the styles that these journals use because they're using the most natural, understandable English. High impact factors indicate the number of citations. If a journal has a high impact factor, it means that the articles they publish are cited thousands of times by researchers around the world. And getting published in a journal with a high impact factor is often the primary goal of every researcher. Often the primary goal. Maybe not with every paper, but that is the goal for some. Let's do some tips. Tips from high impact researchers on how to write and publish. A little bit about our company Uni-edit. We hire hundreds of native speakers for editing papers, and then we also have a lot of people born in Taiwan that now study abroad or work abroad that translate from Chinese to English. So we have a lot of people that have given some input on this, that are professionals in their field. These tips are coming from the best. Tip 1, solve or research a relevant problem. Sounds easy, right? Example, suicide rates are increasing. That's a relevant problem. The wealth gap is increasing. Relevant problem. Temperature records are being broken regularly. I know last year in Taipei, almost every day my phone was like, new record temperature, near record temperature. I was like, why am I here? That religion suffers from higher rates of lung cancer. Oh, region, not religion. I was like, that's interesting. Region. So you see how these are all like really relevant for personal health. Outdated construction techniques. So what are people talking and concerned about? That's where high impact comes from. That's what important research comes from. What are people talking and concerned about? Do we think that virus research went up during COVID? Absolutely. The amount of papers on infections and lung diseases and breathing problems and asthma accelerated during COVID because that was a relevant issue. Tip 2, use tried and tested research methods. I love this one because this takes pressure off of the researcher. Other studies have done, methodologies. Copying a methodology from some other study is a perfect way. Tried and tested researches. Account for all variables. Does your research actually measure what you say it measures? Correlation does not equal causation. This was my professor. This was his favorite phrase. Correlation does not equal causation. There was a funny chart that had, as the temperature of the planet rises, the number of pirates in the world goes down. Makes no sense. They're not correlated, right? Yes, they are inversely correlated. As one goes down, the other goes up, but pirates don't impact climate change. It's a funny example. It's obvious. Is your research widely applicable? Does it apply to many places? You're in Taiwan. You do a study in Taiwan. Can a Japanese company use your study? Can a Thailand company use your study? Is it widely applicable? Then compare your research and topic with the aim and scope of your target journals. Tip 3, be a storyteller. Coming back to it. Your main ideas will be easy to understand if your paper tells a story. That's it. We're talking about easy to understand. Researchers are the best experts on their topic, right? They know the most, so they need to communicate that to a much wider audience. Main storytelling elements in research. Your central message, your problem statements. Maybe you have a solution. Not every paper has a solution. That's okay. Implications. Why is this research important? And research writing both about facts and data as well as telling a story. Okay. I make videos online on YouTube. No, I'm not famous, but I wish I was. So I did a video on when to use past tense, present tense, past tense, and future tense in research writing. And this is the way you tell a story often is moving through the different tenses is an easy way to set up research, establish your base. I could have said that more clear. It's okay. Tip 4, don't waste anyone's time. I love this tip. We don't think about this. We never think about this. But here's what I mean. Don't repeat the same facts or points verbatim. Does anybody know what verbatim means? Verbatim means word for word. If you do quotes, it's verbatim. One of the problems in academic writing, the challenges, is word count. Oh, I have to type 3,000 words. But I've only have 2,000 words and I'm finished. Okay, I'll just repeat myself a bunch. But every time you repeat yourself, you're wasting someone's time because they're reading the same words. So if you need to repeat yourself, definitely change your words. Give new information or describe the same thing in a new way with new vocabulary. So paraphrase and rephrase your points if needed. Consider different tenses for different sections of your paper. So you'll talk about the same issue, but in different contexts. Are all of your sources relevant? Sometimes people include sources that are popular, but not relevant to their paper. Does each sentence give the reader new information? I believe you can do this every time you write a sentence. Is this sentence new information? Yes. Okay, leave. Let's move on. Is this sentence new information? Delete it. All right. If you think you've written it, consider deleting it. Tip 4, continued. Have understandable figures and tables. It should take only a few moments for a person to understand your figures. Get influence from the top journals in your field. Easy. Idea, save 10 tables to your computer and take notes on their understandability, clarity, and style. I think this is a really important one because your data is easy for you to understand because you've spent so much time with it. It's really difficult for someone else to understand, so your tables need to be very clear. Here's a good example. This is easy to interpret. We're talking about late-stage cancer, easier to identify than early-stage cancer. I know this about the graph because it's so easy. I can see stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Up here is a higher number. What's that? Identification accuracy. It's very quick to say late-stage cancer is more identifiable than early-stage cancer. And you can see identifying lung cancer at various stages. So what do we have? We have a clear title at the top, big title on the left for the y-axis, big x-axis, clear, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. To make this even more clear, sometimes you'll see this point will have a number next to it, 52%. This point will have a number next to it, 61%. This point will have 79%. So sometimes you'll even see that. This is a little more complicated, but it's also easy to interpret. So it's easy to compare different categories, right? Category 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. What is this? Birth weight, kilograms. Okay, kilograms. 3.5 kilograms is down here, and I want to see BMI, 3.5 kilograms, 26. So it's easy to find out that information, even when the data on the chart is quite dense. Tip 4, continued. Be concise. I love this sentence. Please don't take a photo of it. Promise. You want the next slide. When writing a research paper, or thesis, or dissertation, it is best to write as clearly and concisely as possible. In order to make the reader feel more comfortable digesting your text. Often long and exhaustive structures lead to the reader being confused and even frustrated during their reading session, which is bad. this is not a well-written sentence. That's why you take a photo of it, I don't want you to copy it. This is a waste of time. It's too long. How fast can I say this same thing? Let's find out. There. Academic English requires clear and concise language to make the reader feel comfortable. Long, wordy, and run-on sentences easily confuse the reader. Yeah? So when you write long, confusing sentences, it wastes people's time because they have to try to understand something that could be more simple, that could be more basic. Here's an example of sentence 1, or clause 1, because we have a semicolon. Sentence 1, same meaning. So when I edit research papers, and I know a lot of my peers as well, every time we edit, the paper becomes shorter. Every single time. I've never edited a paper and it turned out to be longer because we're constantly deleting phrases and making things more concise. Here's an example. Here's sentence 2. Tip 4 continued. You must think of new insights to write and explore. New insights. Old insights waste time. A high word count requirement is not an excuse to repeat yourself. There we go. I'm telling you now. Different fields require different word counts. So sorry. I wish it was all consistent. I've also heard recently word counts are becoming less. So 10 years ago, maybe the word count, I don't know, let's say 3,000, and now it's 2,500. So I've heard research papers over time are becoming shorter, which is fantastic. Seriously, it's such a good news. A high word count requirement is not an excuse to repeat yourself. A high word count requirement is not an excuse to repeat yourself. A high word count requirement is not an excuse to repeat yourself. Sorry for wasting your time. Activity. Make the sentence more concise by removing the unnecessary words or rewording phrases. You can type it if you want to, you don't need to. Sentence with the problem. Many previous research articles have shown a significant correlation between smoking cigarettes and lung cancer. Citations. So just think about this sentence for a second, and if you have an idea about what we can shorten, let me know. The grammar's good, right? It's grammatically correct, so it feels good to read. It's already published. So all research is previous. You would never cite a future research article. That doesn't make any sense, right? So research has shown, so we're going to move has shown into the front. Research has shown a significant correlation between smoking cigarettes and lung cancer. Many gets taken out because when we have the citations, you'll see 2, 3, 4 citations. So if I see 4 citations, many is now a wasted word. We don't need to describe the citations because we can see them. Good. This is probably a top 10 most deleted word in research papers when we edit them. So that's right, because they're always previous. Next sentence, sentence with problem. The experiment was halted due to the fact that funding was withdrawn. Here's a friendly reminder, you don't always need to sound fancy in academic writing. Yes, that is what you can do. So you take out the fact that, so due to funding was withdrawn, but that feels weird. So what does that mean? We can take out due to the fact that and write, yeah, what's another word for since? You guys are going to laugh. It's really easy. Because. Yeah, the experiment was halted because funding was withdrawn. So we don't always need to be super fancy in academic writing and use more words and phrases. Just sometimes being as direct is great. Yes, you are right. Due to the funding was due to funding being withdrawn. But now we're getting into weird grammar. So, activity recap. If you read international journal articles regularly, then you will begin to recognize how other authors structure their arguments and ideas concisely. It's really difficult to create concise sentences on your own. English is challenging to learn. So using other international journals will aid. Consider your audiences. Theses and dissertations, they're for your professor and the review committee. Yeah? But a journal article is for an international audience. I used this example the other day in my business English class. You are all students, right? Yeah? So for most of your life, you've paid your professors to care about you. Right? You give us money, and we give you knowledge and help and time and resources. Yeah? This is completely different when you write a paper for someone else. So everything you've ever done has always been for a professor who you pay to care about you. That's done when you graduate. Then your employer pays you to care about them. I'm giving you money. You need to give me value. You feel nothing changes because a professor gives you an assignment, you return it. A boss gives you an assignment, you return it. So your job doesn't change, but the exchange does. And nobody thinks about it. We just forget that it's a whole philosophical idea and nobody thinks about it. So when you're writing a journal article, the international audience is going to take priority. Whereas a thesis or dissertation, it goes to people in your school that you're paying to care about you. They will also be very critical. It's not like you get an easy passing grade because of that. We're going to talk about the web a little bit, the web of research. So imagine this is a researcher and they wrote one paper. And 5 people cite their paper. Yeah? This is how research works. You have one paper, and then 5 people are citing that research in their paper. And then it grows a little bit. So let's say this is a psychologist, and this is clinical mental health counseling, this is school psychology, this is psychiatry, and now psychiatry people are citing your paper indirectly, right? And maybe you move over here, and school psychology, there's a school psychology group, right? There's groups of researchers, and they all fit into a picture together. This person used research from this person, who's used research from this person, and ultimately, this person is the one advancing science. So the farther away you get is the most relevant. And the farther away you get is also the farther from the field. So you get it's newer, and it becomes more time. And this can grow, and we can move out here, and maybe this is you, right? Maybe this is you. You're in here somewhere, and your audience matters. If you're writing a paper here, your audience is not psychiatry. Maybe your audience is social science, or did I do that? Okay. So maybe you cite this person, but maybe there is a chance that you cite someone way over here. So there's 2 things. One, the people closest to you in your research field are going to be the most important. But sometimes you find a paper way out on the distance that is really important for you as well. And those crossings of fields is like what, publishing research is all about. So imagine we have whole, giant fields here. So engineering, medicine, computer science, psychology. Would you ever cite a paper? If you're psychology, would you ever cite a medical paper? That's an easy one, probably. Medicine and psych are very close. But what about like engineering and psychology? What about engineering and medicine? It would be hard. You can probably do it. So, I think with engineering and psychology, when you're building a building, engineers are the ones that are going to build the building, right? But a psychologist might say, hey, we want this to be big windows, natural light, tall ceilings to feel more open, and this is going to be a social space. And then in the private study rooms, short ceilings, take away the windows, those are distracting, put them in cubicles, right? So psychologists, architects, people like that make decisions that engineers often use. And then this can move around, right? In and out of different fields. So don't assume that you're stuck in one little field. Every field has something to contribute. Tip 5, consider your audience's continued. Who will read your title? Probably a lot of people. But who's going to read your abstract? Less people. And then who's going to read your full paper? Even your professors do not read full papers. And that's their job, right? So your title, the audience is huge potentially thousands of people. And then your abstract, maybe 10, maybe 100. And then your full paper is that only the people that will cite your paper need to understand your research. So citing a paper requires a more in-depth read. These three sections serve different purposes. Same research, different purpose. Sales pitch, here's what we did, here's the details if you want to do your own or you want my opinion. Papers are written for the global audience. Assumptions about what other people know can lead to a confusing paper. What's my favorite flavor of ice cream? Nothing? Tip 6, set realistic expectations. Most research papers don't have a chance to get into the top journals, and that's okay. Other journals publish good research. No problem. There are hundreds of trustworthy and impactful journals. Compare your research paper to the aims and scope of many journals and focus your applications on the journals that closely match your paper. This is the best we can do. Unless if you're a world-renowned, popular scientist, this is the best we can do. Compare the aims and scope and find ones that fit and just go for it. Here's an example. The Lancet, remember before I said they have lots of branches, many do. Child and adolescent health, aims and scope, and then you see we publish a range of content. You can read more about each individual journal. And these do change quite a bit. You don't think, there's other child and adolescent health, and one could be a psychology-based, the other could be a psychiatry-based, one could be medicine-based, cancer research-based. So these do change quite a bit, even if the title might seem similar. Tip 7, learn how to transition naturally. This is what I said is very difficult to do. Research papers can be very long, I know. Connecting many ideas together throughout your paper can be challenging. Yes. Use transition words sparingly. Means not a lot. Some people will write a 6-sentence paragraph, bada 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 bada. In addition, bada 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 bada. Moreover, bada 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 bada. Lastly, bada 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 bada. We don't always need that. Yeah? If your structure is clear, the transition word is obvious. Sometimes you need a transition word, that's okay. But if the structure is clear, transition word is obvious. Take the time to learn how other published authors in your field use these in their writing. I've said this before. I'm repeating myself because it's such a good point, but I'm repeating myself in different words. See how I'm like, it's a lesson within a lesson? Okay, good. In addition, also, besides, moreover, on the other hand, but, and furthermore. So, take the time to learn how they're used. I said this before. We're going to talk about this a little bit. Besides, I can't give you any spoilers because I think it's the next slide. Hang on. Most sentences do not require transition phrases. Sometimes the reader can easily make the connection on their own. Besides versus in addition. Can someone give me, this is an activity, tip 7 activity. Does anybody have any ideas? What are the differences between besides and in addition? So, in academic writing, I say besides is one of the weakest words you can use. In addition, makes sense, right? I have an additional point. In addition is stronger because it simply means you are adding another point. Okay? In addition is very popular. But besides is weak because it means you have already made a strong argument and you have one more thing to say as an afterthought. It's like, I've done my argument. Besides, here's a great example. I don't want to go on vacation to Japan this weekend. It's extremely expensive. There's a typhoon coming, and I have a project due next week. Besides, I'm sleepy. Right? I've made a great point. It's expensive. I have a project. There's a typhoon. My sleepiness is not important. My point has been made. But if I said, it's expensive, there's a typhoon, and additionally, I have a project due next week, those are 3 good points. And they fit better together. So if you've written besides, ask yourself, Is my last point important? If no, delete the sentence. If yes, don't use besides. Use in addition or furthermore. I didn't give that answer, don't listen to me. Besides is not a commonly used academic writing because all your points should be strong. So besides means I have a weak point. In academic writing, every point is strong. First, second, third versus then. Yeah, it's much stronger. It shows order. First, second, third is stronger. However, then is commonly used in academic writing. If you write, yada, 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 then we did this, then we looked at this, then we did that, just go over to first, second, third. We have these words for a purpose. If your research follows clear steps, then first, second, third will be most suitable. Furthermore versus additionally. It's a bit of a trick question. I think they serve the same purpose. They're both strong, like additionally is good. But the difference here is that furthermore is like powerful. And here's why. So both are strong transitions. Furthermore feels confident. It's a confident feeling word. I think I have an example. I've made my point, but I'm not done winning. That's when I use furthermore. Oh, you think my point was strong? Just wait. Right? A great example, let's talk about maybe smoking. Smoking was the leading cause of death for people 60 years and older in 1970. Furthermore, children had increased cancer risk, right? Children having increased cancer is huge. That's a huge problem. So is people above 60 dying. So furthermore means I've made my point. It was bad, but it was also very bad in many ways. So I'm not done winning. Tip 8, don't wait. Before I go on, any questions about these transition words? Okay. Writing your paper takes many months. So sorry. Editing and revising your paper takes many weeks. I'm also sorry. Preparing to publish takes many weeks. There goes like your entire year. Resubmitting after rejection takes many weeks. There we go. Now we're into 2025. One more. Rushing your work is not an option. So, writing takes time, but rushing your work is not an option. You have to plan, right? Don't wait. Start now. It's going to take time. Oh, I'll start writing next week. No, you won't. Start today, right? Stephen King. Does anybody know his writing strategy? It's like every day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., just 4 hours. Yeah, 4 hours every day he sits down and writes. That's it. Sometimes he doesn't know what he's going to write. He just sits down and does it. Maybe he deletes it later. Doesn't matter. But his strategy is always just to do it and then solve problems later. But sitting down and starting is the hardest part. I think it's Stephen King. Don't quote me on that. Writing and publishing research will always take longer than you think. Always. Tip 8 continued. Make a writing plan and be specific. This week, I will write the first draft of my introduction. Tomorrow, I will work on my introduction for 1 hour from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. We're getting specific. Don't wait for the perfect evening or the perfect inspiration. You're never going to have the perfect inspiration to write a research paper. Right? It's not going to happen. It's hard. You're sitting down to do real mental work. So just get it done. Rushed writing causes more errors. And ultimately, as an editor, you're making my life easier if you do it ahead of time. So when you rush, my life is harder. Rushed writing confuses the readers. That's it. Click, 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 click. Hello. There we go. You don't need to worry about this. This is not important. Don't worry about the specifics. The idea is... So this is a flowchart we found on the internet that demonstrates the complexity of writing a research paper. At the top, we have the start. You're reading the assignment, guidelines, you're researching potential topics, you're choosing a topic. We come way down here, right? You start drafting the main body of your paper. you revise the body of your paper, right? This is just writing, and this is the general process that people follow. Do you think you can do this in 2 weeks? No, right? No, no one can. It's impossible. So this is just an idea to show you that how difficult it can be. Similarly, again, not important information, this is our company's internal flowchart for how we edit research papers. So your writing takes many steps. Our editing takes many steps. When you submit to a journal, they take many steps. Everything takes longer than you think it does, right? Lee, is this easy for us? No. No. So we have to work with people along the way, right? You're going to submit to somebody to edit, and then you're going to have to do conversations back and forth. We meet deadlines, but that doesn't mean that it's not difficult. And everybody, the entire process is difficult. Tip 9, different sections use different styles. Transitioning into a new topic. So introduction section tells a story, hooks the reader, compares and contrasts previous research. This is your literature review. But your results are analytical. They're direct and objective. So be conscious when you're moving through your paper, your writing style changes, sometimes instantly, right? From one paragraph to the other, your writing style might need to change. So study a published paper in your field. Ooh, Antony's repeating himself. How did their English change from one section to the other section? Study another paper published in your field. How did their English change from one section to another section? Find these patterns across multiple research papers, and you're going to start to see how you can change your style as well. I think you should also probably study a third paper and then do the same thing with that one. It's kind of funny. It's like when we're children, how do we study English? You know, flashcards, right? And we do worksheets. And as you get older, it becomes much more analytical. You're searching for patterns of writing. You're searching for styles in writing, personality in writing. So these take really a long time to get used to. Tip 10, follow the journal guidelines. Go to many journals' websites and find the instructions for author section. Study these instructions closely. Look for word count, reference format, title requirements, heading and subheading requirements, section order, etc. You might be writing an APA, but the journal might have some specific things. So it's not just APA or Chicago or something like that. Neglecting these guidelines will lead to instant rejection, right? If they need 3,000 words and you send them 10,000 words, they're just going to send it back. Here's an example from the Lancet again. You see author guidelines, and there we have it.